What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Between the Ears on Mountain News Now. I'm Skylar Cowan. Join with me is Christopher Hall. Today, we're going to touch on a little bit of basketball news, and let's start off with Trey Mitchell first. Then we'll get to some of the other interesting stuff. So, Trey Mitchell announces that he will return for an extra year. He's going to take that extra COVID year that the NCAA provided student athletes a couple of years back. This means he will get one more crack at it before putting his name officially out there in front of NBA coaches, GMs, and scouts. So, first of all, I was honestly kind of surprised, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording, was that he didn't submit his name that we know of into the NBA draft. And I don't know, maybe they did some paperwork and they just didn't go public, but a little interesting that it seemed like he was dead set pretty much on returning. It kind of felt that way the entire time, just because I mean he does have the talent to get to the next level. He's just not quite ready yet. What do you make of all this? I mean, do you feel like he just knew from the very beginning that this is what he wanted to do, or maybe do you feel like that he probably did somehow put paperwork in? We just don't know.
I'm sure Huggins has. I mean, Mike Gansey's right up the road, not too far down the road.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
true.
sure I'm sure he's got some insight on what scouts think about him. So there's probably been some unofficial scouting reports, but and I'm still kind of shocked that you don't go through the process. Wouldn't be surprised that if he still doesn't go through the process. I mean, it's an opportunity to go sit in front of some great basketball minds, go get some, go up against some of the best talent around the country. So a little surprised if he doesn't end up going through at least that process. But obviously it's a great return for West Virginia. We've seen what he's capable of. He did have that slump there that kind of brought down his average across the board, but great addition, great addition for next year. I feel like that's what it is every year. It's like, well, if they announce their return, like, all right, we're back to adding a team every year. So,
I
um,
mean, just look at the importance, I guess, really of Keedy and him coming back for that extra year. I mean, he took a massive jump. I mean, I'm not going to say that's going to be the same case for everyone, but Trey Mitchell's got the talent, the skill set, the tools to make that type of jump and maybe even bigger. Just because of how good he is already. He's already skilled. I think to me, this year was just kind of getting acclimated, getting his feet wet, kind of understanding what Bob Huggins wants out of him and try to understand what he needs to do in this system. Because I think at times we all saw like he struggled, obviously defensively when we got into Big 12 conference play, and I think that's an area that's going to be kind of concentrated on this offseason, along with sharpening up some of his offensive game. But defensively, he's got to sharpen up, and then I think he can take his game to the next level on rebounding as well. I mean, just went out there and averaged like 5 or 6 rebounds a game, and felt like he could have had 8 or 9. To be honest with you, I mean, if he just has a little bit of teaching to him this offseason. So um,
I
big,
I will say this. It definitely is an indication that NIL is being taken care of. Um,
that is true.
he's coming back. Uh, Hopefully, this is all good signs that the guys are being taken care of. They're not fielding calls. It's all blocked, right? Like he settled in. He mentioned last year he loves West Virginia. He wish he would have known about this place earlier in his career. So seems in a good mindset. So everything you just talked about him developing his game even more on both ends of the floor, he should flourish in this environment. There's no angst. There should be no angst about anything about he could have made money anywhere doing this. He's making money. Everything should be good. To me, that's the biggest sign right now. You also, the kid from Arizona last week. That's a good sign that things are in the right direction in the athletic department. That's got right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you look at, I think the one area of his game that's really underrated, and I put this in my article when he announced, is he's a very good playmaker and play creator. Like I think that gets very overlooked because of obviously his offensive output in terms of scoring and stuff. But he can really set his teammates up if he's not sped up. There's some times where we saw this season where he got a little careless with the ball just because he was getting sped up. But when he is slowed down and plays to Trey's speed, I think he can be as good of a passer as anybody on this roster, at least in terms of the bigs. We saw so many times. I think I put 3 or 4 clips in where he was just making really good passes. And it's not even just the wow passes, right? The ones that he backs a guy down or wraps it around the defender. It's the skips, the skip passes and the ones where he maybe is the pass to the assist and he doesn't get credit for the assist, but he's the one that set the whole play up. And it's a really cool thing to go back and watch when you watch Trey Mitchell's film. Very good in terms of creating baskets, and I think that's going to be helpful just because you have that, and now you have Kirk Kriisa, who led the Pac-12 in assists last year. It's a pretty good thing to have two willing and able passers in two different areas of the floor. So, um,
I like Emmett Matthews' endorsement of Trey as well, for all conference player
yeah, yeah.
this season. So, hey, if they're putting in the work, you're seeing the kids that are just leaving the program, they're excited. So I think everything's in the right direction. Just would like to see some more young faces. Hopefully, they can get back in some inroads. Now that Johnson's here on the recruiting trail, and get these kids in early. Like all these kids leaving, saying, "I wish I spent my entire career here." Drive that point home to some of these good freshmen, develop them into the guys you need, the program veterans, so they can make these postseason runs.
Yeah, there's actually going to be a very big week to 10-day window here. By the way, I wasn't planning on mentioning this, but I'm going to throw it in here anyway. For transfers visiting West Virginia. You got John Hughley, big man out of Pitt, Jesse Edwards out of Syracuse, who was phenomenal this past season, very good defensively, averaged a double double, I believe, if not very close to it. And then Caleb Grill, the Iowa State transfer guard, who shot around 34, 35% from three. So some pretty big names coming to Morgantown in the coming week or so. So maybe more help is on the way. It certainly seems that way. But back to Trey again, it's like I think more so than just what you're getting in terms of the player, I think this is another opportunity for Trey to really take that next step as a leader and be the vocal guy on this team because quite honestly, like he's going to look around on the floor and he's going to be the only guy potentially from the starting five back next year. We don't know what Jimmy Bell's going to do, and it's a perfect segue for this, right? Jimmy Bell, by the way, is trying out or working out at least with the football team at West Virginia. So, does this mean Jimmy Bell is going to play both football and basketball? Does this mean he's going to leave basketball for football? Is this just to get him in shape for basketball next season? Who the heck knows? Or maybe Chris, maybe you know. What do you think?
I think it's a good exercise for him to play a little tougher in the paint. He can learn about leverage, footwork, how to position himself. Plus, he can work out with the football team. Look, he can still play football after he's done with basketball for at least 1 year. I know he played previously. So I think it's good all around. I wouldn't be surprised if it's reciprocated and some offensive linemen are in the basketball facilities over the summer working with the basketball team. So they can be a little agile out there and be able to swing their hips and learn from a basketball perspective because Neil Brown absolutely loves multi athletes, like loves it, encourages it. He loves athletes, and I'm sure maybe him and Huggins maybe working something out here. Maybe not, but
Rodney Gallagher's, I mean, he's told me multiple times, like, he wanted to really play both sports WVU. And then he's like, I just got to focus in on football. But then even recently, he's like, man, I'd still like to play basketball. It's like, okay, maybe we have something here. Maybe this is the start of something here with Jimmy Bell. So
a little cross training between sports. Hey,
yeah,
it applies. It applies. So, um, yeah, I mean, you got Jimmy. If he's working tight end, he's going to learn how to catch the ball in traffic while other guys just as big as strong as him is hanging all over him. So how many times have we seen that in the Big 12 where he gets physical down there? So this is a great opportunity for him all around. Hopefully we see more of it.
So to close out our show today, I do want to ask though more about the centers thing because right now they have three guys coming back at the position: James Okonkwo, Muhammad Wagi, and Jimmy Bell, assuming Jimmy Bell returns. With all that being said, they're still targeting several centers in the transfer portal. John Hughley being one, Jesse Edwards being another. They've been in on a ton of other guys too. What do you make of that whole situation? How do they use potentially four different guys at that spot? Are we going to see maybe two bigs on the floor again, back like he did with Culver and Sheboy? Or is this going to be just a rotation of four guys? Like, how do you see that? What do you feel like the vision is for this?
It's an interview process. I don't think I don't bring that many bigs in. You see it in football all the time. It's a smaller scale, but we see it in football all the time. How many offers you think go out? At the end of the day, they can only bring in uh, what what just to fill their allotment of an average 25. So same process. I think you got to interview. It's the same thing with the players that are coming in. They may come in and say, I don't feel this isn't the right fit for me. So you just it's an interview process. I could see possibly three, and obviously you want that third person to have multiple years, but it's possible you have three. You could put two down there, but I don't think that's the plan. I can see really two main bigs pretty much split in time. Maybe not like a 2020, but one may be hitting his shots from around the basket, and he may get 25 to 28, while the other ones relegate a little bit more. But you may see a spurt of like 3 minutes where they're both on the floor at the same time. So don't really put too much stock in it. They've got to fill a roster, and once it's kind of filled, but I think the vision is kind of saying get the best athletes we can and figure it out. But I don't think they'll overload down low. It's Huggins. He'll make it work if he needed to, but I don't think the vision is to pile up on a bunch of bigs.
So, I mean, with that said, like, what do you feel like would be the bigger need, or I guess area that you would address on this team through the portal still? I mean, obviously they've made a couple additions already, but do you add another guard or would you go towards another big? Like, I mean, they've got a lot of bodies in the backcourt too.
I mean, the thing with Okonkwo, he's still so young. Yeah, he's been in the program a while, but age wise, yes, he's physically still big, but he hasn't played basketball that long. Um, and him as a four wouldn't be as bad. You have to change the offense a little bit, but it's not again that it's small. You would really have to hope that he can become a better passer. So, I mean, I'm always the one that would say more guards at this level because it's so guard heavy. Once you get postseason, and I think you can have too many of anything. But I would if it's a who's available at center that wants to come, and who's available at guard that wants to come at the end of the day. And I think you just pick the better of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more so leaning towards another big just because I think they could get better defensively if they can get. Look, I mean, if they can land Jesse Edwards, I mean, that kid's averaging well over 2 blocks a game, maybe pushing three. So, like, they could definitely get another rim protector, and that certainly opens up what they can do defensively. Maybe that brings back some version of the press. Obviously, you're not going to have that totally because you don't really have that type of an on-ball guard whatsoever, actually. Uh, but
But
especially
you
with
can trap more
exactly,
because he does have length as well. So you're bringing in length. And that so yeah, it really is like who can we get in that's going to help us now? Um, that would, you know, I don't. You don't want to just go for a center. You want to go for this. Who can impact us from either end of the floor now?
yeah, 100%. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now. Throughout the next, like I said, 10 days or so, there's going to be some big names coming into Morgantown for some visits through the transfer portal. Grill, Hughley, and Edwards for sure have locked in. There may be one or two more that end up popping up at some point. So follow us for all that stuff. That'll be it for today. For Christopher Hall, I'm Skylar Callahan. You've been watching Between the Ears show here on Mountain Ears Now. Follow us on Twitter, and you can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well. So thank you guys for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys next week.